What's the difference between this home,
and this one?
if you're only using the Zillow Zestimate, you may think that these three homes are very similar, but you may be leaving thousands of dollars on the table if that's the only tool you're using. Welcome, my name is John Cummings. I'm with Lehigh Valley for Rent. I'm with Dad Life Property Solutions. And me, my wife, my kids, we go all across Lehigh Valley. We're fixing flipping homes, we're renovating them, we're renting them out. But mostly we're here to help you, the homeowner, to make the best decision for your home when selling. Today, I wanted to go over the Zillow Zestimate and some of the things that it's not quite telling you properly. And I want to do this with a prime example that I have and just go through it, give you the main three things that the Zillow Zestimate doesn't give you. Overall, it can be a good tool. And I actually use the Zillow Zestimate. What I'm using it for is to see what you're looking at. When I come to your house, you typically have an idea of what you want to sell your home for. I rarely find someone that doesn't have an idea. Where are you finding that information? Probably Zillow or Realtor or some other algorithm that's telling you this. And I'm not saying that they're not always off, right? They could be accurate, but I want to know what the expectation is that you have coming into your property, so that if I'm way different, I explain to you why. I want you to watch this video and just understand that there are differences with the Zillow Zestimate that can be missed. For example, the three properties that we just laid out, what are they worth? We could take a look here. What do you know? They're all worth about the same. But according to the Zillow Zestimate, they're all worth right around the same if they were all to sell today. It makes sense. Based on basic comps and comparable sales, you're gonna go, three properties are literally right next to one another. So it makes sense. In addition, all these properties were built within the same 2 years. They all have the same basic layouts. They're all right in the exact same neighborhood. So for all intents and purposes, they really should be good comps, right? And that's something that a realtor or myself would look at when looking at the comparable sales. Just like anything else, you can't just use an algorithm. These are the three main reasons that the Zillow Zestimate fails. And the first one is going to be nuances. What do I mean by nuances? This is not something an algorithm can figure out. For example, this home is all brick. This home is all stone. This home is all siding on the exterior. Does that matter? Absolutely it matters, because if you asked 9 out of 10 people, what are they going to pick? The brick. Why are they going to pick the brick? Brick is timeless. Brick looks good. Brick is sturdy, durable. It's easy, low maintenance. Siding cracks, gets sun worn. It gets dirty. You have to pressure wash it pretty regularly or it looks like crap. A lot of maintenance. Typically needs to be replaced every 10 years or so. Stone. You may think, all right, well, why don't people like stone? It's not that they don't like stone. It's just a lot of times they don't like the look of the stone. It's just not as clean. It's a little edgy. Not everybody wants stone. At the end of the day, you always have to think of your buyer pool. Who's going to buy this house? And if there's something that's just not with the norm, it reduces your buyer pool. So that's one nuance that makes a big difference, and that's the exterior of the home. It's not a small nuance, it's a fairly large thing. The second nuance is, would you happen to know that the septic systems in these homes, 2 of them were replaced, 1 was not replaced? Or the fact that every septic system on one side of the road needed to be replaced after purchase, and that the other side of the road did not, and is still in good working condition? That's not something the algorithm is going to tell you. It's going to take someone to go in and look at that information and pull the permits from the city and see what was done and talk to the individuals and see what the sales history was and see what the history of the home was. It's not something an algorithm is going to be able to tell you, because a lot of those things depend on the actual ground, the clay in the earth. It's not something Zillow is going to know about because they're not in the neighborhood. They don't know the nuances. So the last nuance I want to talk about is things that homeowners do that Zillow would know about. Did you know that one of these properties has an unpermitted 200 square foot deck on the back of it? Now the deck's in great condition. It was done right, wasn't permitted. Does that make a difference to you? I'd say most buyers probably not. They're not even going to look into it. Some people, they might care, but as long as it looks good, they're really not going to care. Do you happen to know this neighbor over here has a tenth of their backyard that is pretty unusable based on the configuration of the yard, where the shed is, where their patio is? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to use it. These are just 2 little examples of things that homeowners do, or things that are configured in the property that you wouldn't know about from the algorithm. We're going to go over the second thing that the Zillow Zestimate isn't going to necessarily tell you, and that's going to be pride of ownership. Pride of ownership is a sneaky thing, but everybody notices it. Every single person notices it. Was a bathroom redone and the moldings are crap? Is there paint that was done but it's on the ceilings? Was there electrical done with no permit pulled? A lot of these things are pride of ownership things. When you start digging into them, if you start finding little things, there could be big things, and it makes buyers wary of buying the property. When you're selling a property, you have to think of the buyer pool in mind. mind. Are sellers going to question this? Are they going to be concerned about this? We are not just home buyers, we are home sellers. So we have to think about these things even before we start a project. A lot of the things we think about is who's going to buy this property? Are there going to be questions after the fact? Even so far as if you're buying a property or if you're selling a property, was that property flipped before you bought it? Did a flipper buy it? Are they a reputable flipper? You don't know until you start digging into these details. The third thing that the Zillow Zestimate is not going to know is permitting and zoning. This may seem odd to bring up for Zillow Zestimate. Why in the world would zoning matter for my property? Well, it actually matters quite a bit, because if you think about it, think about your buyer pool in mind. When you're selling your property, even if it's to somebody like me, it's actually more important when you're selling it off market as is to someone like me, because I actually look into it quite a bit. If on one part of the street or one corner of the lot, the zoning is rural residential, and then down the street, it turns into medium density residential, that's a big difference, because what does that mean for me as a buyer? It means that, okay, well, maybe if you have a single family home that's close to 2,000 square feet, maybe I could divide that up and make it a duplex. Okay, that becomes very valuable to me, or any other investor or any other buyer. Maybe they want to put an in-law suite in. It really depends on what the end goal is. If the zoning allows for some flexibility, then there's a lot more you can do with it. There's a lot more options for the end use, especially for someone like me. If I could turn something from a single family into a duplex or even a quadruplex, that's a whole different ball of wax. I can give you a lot more money for something like that than if it's just single family to single family. It does matter quite a bit on these zoning things. Even so far as Zillow isn't going to go in and look at the meeting notes, or they're not paying attention to the morning call, and they're not paying attention to the Stock and Source or any of these local news articles. But they're important because, for example, Bethlehem Township is talking about putting restrictions on Airbnbs. Does Zillow know that? You could potentially be buying as an investment for an Airbnb that's penciling out that it's going to cash flow or to be able to cover your mortgage with a short-term rental, when in reality, the zoning may be changing. The zoning is changing frequently. It's not like it's just stagnant. So you need to pay attention to these things, because it really could affect your investment or your home value. But these are a lot of the things that the Zillow Zestimate misses. I didn't want to come in with some standard stuff that everybody says about the Zillow Zestimate. These are real high value things that Zillow is missing that truly affect your property value. This isn't a $5,000 to $10,000 difference. We could be talking about $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 differences if we're talking about septic systems, exterior walls, pride of ownership. Is this a flip? Is it not a flip? What's the zoning on this property? At the end of the day, you have to understand what your buyer pool is, have to work with that in mind. I hope this video helps you. I don't want to bash on Zillow too much, because I think they've done a lot of good things and they give some power back to the homeowner. You just want to get someone reputable. And if you don't know, if you're not sure, feel free to give us a call. All our information is in the description, and reach out anytime. All right, thanks. Have a good one.